Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are around the world, around the Bahamas. Good afternoon. Hope you're well. Hope all is good with you. My name is Howard Grant. This is The Foundation. Grateful to be in your company. Always grateful to jam with you. Talking about these particular things. Had an eventful weekend. My God, exhaustion is real. Grateful to be in your company always. Grateful to be in the land of the living. I don't know about you, but I'm happy to be alive. Amen. There's some people who I know. There's a friend that I had in Grand Bahama. His name is Kelvano. Kelvano has been dead from I was 14. I'm grateful to be alive. I continue to be able to pray for his family and all those particular persons. But death is something that is absolutely inevitable. We don't know when. But the only thing that we have to do is kind of focus on our now. Someone in their position, I suppose, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Started to talk about the only time is now. No matter when this sort of an idea comes to you and your desire to be able to move forward with something, the only time that's important is now. Now is the only time that exists. And that's a strong thing. I think a lot of persons get caught up in the soon and the very soon. I think a lot of persons get caught up in the eventually and what I'd like to see concept, but not necessarily understanding the power of now. I think that's the only thing that we've been given. We've been given today, our now. And we got to be able to operate and perform in that particular capacity. It's important that we do that. Grateful to be in you guys' company. Always jamming with you. 103.7 Grand Bahama, 103.7 Dove Radio. Always being able to hit you with the best in Christian gospel. They allow me to be able to come into this particular space given my sanctification. Praise God for me. I can't get an amen. Praise God. All right, always great to be with you guys. If you want to be able to join in the conversation, I'd love you to do so. Hit me up 827-0111, 827-0111. Let's get into it today. Let's talk about these things. Make sure you pick up your newspapers. That's the Tribune newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, all those papers, Jones Communication, the Realigner, everything. Anything that's print media and you want to be able to ingest that information, I encourage you to read Bahamas, read. Just like Michael Pintard would do. Read Bahamas, read. I can't get no amen. It's a beautiful thing, man. Let's talk about these things. Let's talk about this sort of an justification, identification of what's happening in these particular areas. Where are we right now? If we look in the newspaper today and we look in the Guardian, in the newspaper at the very forefront of the Guardian, Beaches Parks probe leaked. Beaches Park probe leaked. You know what's crazy is that this sort of idea about being leaked is one thing. But then I don't know whether or not we justify that, we identify that, we quantify that by against the what's happening in the country right now. Whether or not this is identified by the government of the Bahamas or whether or not this leak is something that we justify and say, okay, we're content with the leak. We just wanted to know exactly what's what. In the papers today, you can be able to see something. Shannon Cartwright, the deputy leader for the Free National Movement's in the front of the paper today. And he's being able to talk about these things. Cartwright cleared of all wrongdoing. This is what the Guardian said. And this is a story by Travis Cartwright Carroll. Cartwright cleared of all wrongdoing in the probe. DDP's office recommended charges against two others, but case went cold. Report leaked 3 weeks before the election. It says that although, let's put on the glasses now. Hold on, wait. Let's read a little taste and see exactly what's what. Let's see what's going on. Although the office of the director of public prosecution recommended bribery charges, we got to be able to read this with clarity. We don't want no problems, right? Although the office of the director of public prosecutions recommended bribery charges against the former employee of the Bahamas Public and Beaches and Parks Authority and his wife, charges were never filed. in October 16, 2024, memorandum of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to the police into the allegations of the fraud and the bribery of the authority, Chief Counsel Abigail Farrington also recommended that no charges be brought against St. Barnabas MP Shannon Cartwright, who headed the authority between 2017 and 2021, and 10 others. Farrington said that there was insufficient evidence of the bribery in relation to the BPPP-BA contracts in respect to Cartwright. But Farrington did recommend charges against an employee at the authority and his wife, pending further investigations. The 18-page document was leaked over the weekend. Leaked. This is too much, guys. Make sure you pick me up and check me out. You can be able to see us live. We're doing this live. We're right there on Foundation 242 anything. Foundation 242. You can be able to check me out on all the social platforms. Just type in Foundation 242. My round face will pop up, okay? Foundation 242. You'll be able to see that. Also, you can check it out, foundation242.com. You can be able to see my website. You can get there, all right? And you could also be able to pick me up on Facebook, RRB242, or Foundation 242. It doesn't make a difference. You can be able to pick me up and see exactly what's what. We are live right now. As you can hear me on 103.7 in Grand Bahama, you can also see me live if you want to kind of tune in to that. Make sure you like and share. And let some persons know exactly what we're doing with decency and in order over here. Let's dive into this stuff, right? The 18-page document was leaked over the weekend, 3 weeks before the May 12th general election, and after questions surfaced over the stewardship. Let's go to A6. This is Guardian me reading, guys, right? So we can go to A6 and see exactly what's what. Let's read. So it says, the authority under its current chairman, Mount Moriah MP Michael Barnaby. The Nassau Guardian recently reported in less than 5 years, the authority spent $141 million. There are still 9 months of reporting left to be tabulated. Shortly before it took office in 2021, the Davis administration accused the Minister administration of using the authority as a slush fund after it awarded millions of dollars in contracts in the lead up to the general election. I suppose that this was in 2021. Let's be very clear about these things, right? So it says, under the minister-led Free National Movement, the government and the authority spent a total of $84,288,233 over 4 years in office, while the audit was conducted into the affairs of the authority, which was never made public, and there was talk about holding people to account. Right, and then it says that the government has largely been silent regarding the authority. Cartwright, according to the memorandum of the Office of the DPP, during his tenure, Mr. Cartwright signed off on all contracts, which included the contracts of his brother-in-law. Investigations by the office revealed that between 2017 and 2021, Cartwright's brother-in-law received $190,000 from contracts awarded to him by the BPPP-BA, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority. Okay? This is according to the memorandum. Cartwright married his wife in December of 2021, but could not recall when they first started a relationship. Hold on. What the hell that got to do with anything? Let's just, I don't understand. Well, anyway, I guess out of the loop. Let's just make sure that we making sense about these particular things. right? Let's read it again, right? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord, let's read this, okay? According to the memorandum, Cartwright married his wife in December 2021, but could not recall when they first started a relationship. He told investigators that in 2019, that she was married to someone else. For her part, Cartwright's wife told investigators that they started a relationship sometime in 2020. Her brother, during his record of interview, said that he was not aware of the relationship between his sister and Cartwright until closer to the wedding in December 2021. The memorandum said that there was no evidence that Cartwright received a direct advantage from the brother-in-law for the reward of the contract. Oh, I see what they did there. I see what they did there. I don't know if you saw it. I see what they did there. They are trying to be able to imply that as a result of proximity or whatever the case may be, they got married to be able to cover these particular things up. So they need to know when the inception of the relationship started, whether or not you had been building to this, you had a relationship with her, you knew the brother a long time, you gave him some slack, y'all got good together, and then as a result of this, you gave him this kind of $190,000 contract, and then you made a determination that, well, let's just keep it in the family. I think that this is the implication that we're reading here, right? Guys, make sure you pick up your paper, right? I think that this is the implication that we're reading here. Now, you could read into it, and we could be able to make this kind of determination and then identify, whether or not is here nor there, right? Here or there, and be able to determine that, right? So he says, however, according to the bank records, between 2017 and 2021, his wife received $84,850 from her brother. So the reason giving for the receipt of the money was that it was a gift to help her support herself. Jesus, oh, we're going to brother that says, my brother never give me nothing like this. And I's a decent brother. None of my brothers, I don't know nobody who say, Howard, just to help support yourself. Here's $85,000. The thing a little fishy to me, not in a bad way. Not kind of disparaging, condescending, sort of accusatory. I don't want to be able to levy accusations against them and say as a result of these things that we see that, I don't want to be able to levy accusations against the people. I'm too decent for that. But the implications of the story is peculiar. It leaves too much holes. This is a Swiss cheese of a story. And we identify these particular things. But as he's indicated, there has been recommendations that no charges be placed against Shannon Cartwright, who is the deputy leader of the Free National Movement, and also the member of Parliament, the House is dissolved, vying for the position as member of Parliament for St. James constituency against Owen Wells. So this is peculiar. It's just, I want to be able to talk about these things. Let's see what the Office of the Prime Minister states. This is the Office of the Prime Minister. The Office of the DPP also noted that an assistant to the former Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, who was tasked with helping members of the public with obtaining cleaning contracts on beaches and park, asked that the Prime Minister to give the contract to her sister and her fiance's son. This is the webs we weave and we deceive. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know exactly what's what. I don't know this kind of a position, but I do want to say to you, as I'm identifying this, I realize that during this time in this particular season, a great deal of things are going to happen. Great deal of things are going to come to the forefront, and we're going to try to make a determination as to who is a liar, who is a thief, and who is a man or a woman of their word. I think that this is sort of the probe that we do socially. This is sort of the social probe that we do, trying to be able to make a determination as to whether or not there is a level of conviction and we can be able to identify strength in these particular persons. It's just with clarity. Let's just talk about it with clarity and strength and understanding. I think that this is what we see. I think that this is where we are, and this is the sort of a determination that we've identified in these areas. Now, this is a strong thing because Mikhail Barnaby, 84 million, let's call it 85 million dollars spent by the Free National Movement during Shannon Owen's tenure, and he was placed under fire. Individuals within the organization was placed under fire. Mikhail Barnaby being able to come to the forefront and being able to indicate during his tenure and the run up, and especially being able to identify that, knowing exactly what his predecessor would have done in this particular capacity. He did a great deal in terms of being able to identify audits. He did audits independently. I think some audits was within the government. He did independent audits. He did everything to be able to ensure that the books was in the up and up. And now he is still under scrutiny, still under fire. Not necessarily him as an individual, but his department, his division that he's responsible for in his capacity as executive chairman, as the steward over this particular space. And so they're asking him questions. And one of the things that we understand here as we read Shannon Owen's posture, as we read Shannon Owen's, I don't know what we call it, deposition, as we read this information that's coming to the forefront that has been leaked. Let's talk about it. Talk about it with decency and in order. Amen. We recognize something. Shannon Owen signed everything. If you remember the conversations in the House of Assembly that actually spoke to the fact that why he signed everything, because he, in his particular capacity, a great deal of persons within the government sector, within the uniform branch, within any one of the divisions that are employees that are identified and provided employment and enjoy the luxuries of being able to pick up a check monthly, bi-monthly or otherwise, bi-weekly or otherwise, they take directives. Let's just be very clear about this, okay? They do as they are told. That is largely what is done in the public sector. Okay? When you follow the paper trail, or essentially follow the money, you would recognize that the allegations, speculations, or the decree, the declaration, to sign this particular thing didn't come from Shannon Owen or Mikhail Barnaby. In our society, what happens, whether it's Shannon Owen, whether it's any one of these particular persons in their various capacities, they are the go-between. And you have to have tough skin and able to endure the public scrutiny, because you can get the backlash. And you're going to have to remain steadfast in your position, and you're going to have to remain focused in your position. You're going to have to be all right with being able to get a little flack. Your reward in due time and due season, I suppose, I don't know, as we look at this, will be on the other side. I don't know. There is, as we look at Shannon Owen's information, a lot of the information was even made available to the public. As we look at Shannon Owen's information, after they would have done their scrutinies and identifies exactly was what, this information wasn't even released to the public. We don't know. I don't know. We don't know. And so we identify these things and we just hope for the absolute best and hope that, justice take its course, and that we, the people of the Bahamas, who are responsible for being able to foot this bill over the course of two political organizations, would have been 140, 220 some, $230 million. $230 million. And so we need to be able to get to the bottom of these things to identify who's responsible in certain areas. I don't know, it sounds deeper than it is. And The Guardian put it out to the forefront. Beaches and Parks probe leaked. The Guardian put it out to the forefront, and it's one of those stories that leads you to believe why. It's a why story for me. It's not okay, we didn't know this. We knew this information. The story is why. Listen, let's be these. The story is why. The story ain't what, not in this instance. The story is why. Why? 2 weeks before the election. Okay? Today is the 22nd 7th. You got 3 more days. You got literally 15 days before the election, 2 weeks and a day. You got 15 days before the election. Why? You need to understand where I'm coming from. 15 days before the election, they put heat on Michael Barnaby. They tried to put him to work. They put him to so much work that they deflected from the 440 pounds of cocaine that his opponent's boat was carrying to Fort Lauderdale in the middle of the day. I trying to get somewhere with you, and I just want to be decent. I want to be decent, and I'm hoping that you would allow me the opportunity to do just that with my decent self. Let's do this. 2 weeks and a day before the general election, this information was leaked. Guardian saw it fit to put it at the very forefront of the newspaper to talk about what was leaked. We look at the front of the newspaper for the Tribune. 6 arrested for having fake IDs. Okay, I like this story. Alleged gang leader killed in Cable Beach ambush. Okay, I like this story. Over 200 children sought help for sexual abuse last year. Oh, this is a strong story. I'd like to find out more about this story. PM calls Pintard's request for observers inappropriate. All right, it's a little bit of politics. All right, that's good. But that's it. But Guardian saw it fit to be able to come here and talk to us again, relentlessly, perpetually, indefinitely, stuffing down our throats this conversation about beaches and parks and the probe that lead, stretching the goat skin, stretching the thing, getting ready to beat this drum. Why? Why is this so important? Listen now, listen, this is people's money. This is our money. There's speculations, allegations, all sorts of smoke looming in the area to make a determination as to whether or not somebody is a thief. Amen? This is what it is about. But I just don't understand why Guardian needs to amplify this in such a manner. We already know that Shannon Cartwright has been vindicated. He's been vindicated, right? Of his particular position. Right? There was a sense of liberation associated with that. Both he and Peter Turnquest. Peter Turnquest would have come out in the papers over the past, I think, year or year and a half or so and start to talk about this sort of a vindication for the allegations that was levied against him. The Guardian takes these things and places to the forefront. I like it. It's no problem. But 2 weeks before the election, is this one of the major stories? Is this kind of relentless focus on the constituency, more specifically, of the constituency of, because that's all this is. This is only the constituency of Mount Moriah. You can't even, I'm trying to get somewhere with you and you wouldn't allow me to take the little baby steps to get there. I going somewhere with you. This is only to be able to amplify the concept and idea that there is skullduggery possibly at the undertone and the underbelly of this conversation that's happening in the constituency of Mount Moriah, with the current member of parliament who is now a candidate, and both he and Marvin Dames are vying for that particular position. That's what's happening here. But at the underbelly here, I just see something else. Why are you placing so much emphasis on being able to scrub with the lamb's blood of life and make squeaky clean with your carnal arms? Let's be decent. Shannon Cartwright in his particular capacity, fortifying, double down the man. I'm trying to get somewhere with you, and you wouldn't allow me to move. You holding me, man. Loose me right now. Loose me. I'm trying to get somewhere with you. The Guardian seeks to make squeaky clean Shannon Cartwright. Fortify. We are ready to know this information. I need to calm down. We are ready to know this information. Shannon Cartwright already didn't come out. He already didn't do his press run. He didn't talk about this sort of vindication. He's already done it, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, something leak. Well, we don't bother with leaks. We just call the plumber for that. Why you have to amplify a leak? You don't do that. You wait until justification. You wait until identification. You wait until you can be able to identify your sources. You wait until there's a sense of transparency. In a leak, no one can tell you I put this there. No one can tell you I could do it, but you put the leak in the front of your people. More specifically for Shannon. Now, Shannon got to be Mr. Clean. They got to scrub him clean before the election in 15 days. Just in case you forgot, Shannon straight. Just in case you forgot, this other fella ain't straight. And Shannon problem ain't even Shannon problem. Shannon problem was there's some other people. Now they scrutinized his girlfriend who became his fiance, who became his wife, and then they got to ask his brother-in-law. They did everything they were supposed to do. Shannon clean. Only was $85 million. It was only $85 million. $85 million. But Mikhail is $141 million. Something wrong, Howard. And you fighting. I want to see something. I just want to see something. I want to see something. If you afford me the opportunity, in decency and in love, let me see something. We can type in some stuff. I think the fellow name is Maurice Goodman. I think that was his name. All right, let's check it out. That was his name? Somebody Goodman. All right, this ain't coming up. Goodman cocaine. Goodman cocaine find in Bahamas. Let's find out his first name, okay? Man found with 200 kilograms of cocaine in the United States of America, a Bahamian man on February 24th, 2025. 4 days before they decided to be able to bomb Iran, Bahamian man was caught with 200 kilograms of cocaine in a private vessel. I'm looking for the quantity of that. So 200 kilograms, we got to be able to identify how much in dollars is worth and value of that 200 kilograms of cocaine that was found off the shore of Fort Lauderdale, being able to identify that. And also, he had 248 bottles of cough syrup, which they call codeine, right? What is the value? Let's see that. Let's see this. What is the value of these particular things? I got to get this because I need to understand something. All right, we need to be able to crucify and demonize Mikhail Barnaby in his particular capacity. That's what we have to do, okay? There's no two ways about it. There's no request. This is a necessity. We have to be able to identify, demonize, and say that Mikhail Barnaby is doing something untoward. However, this is speculations. The same way that you speculate about Shannon Cartwright, you're doing the exact same thing about Mikhail Barnaby. Because no one is found Marvin Dames, Mikhail Barnaby, or Shannon Cartwright guilty. No one. I'm going to ask this thing. Okay? You guys bear with me for 2 seconds. Let's just be able to have a very clear conversation about where we are and what this means. Okay? What is the value of 200 kilograms of cocaine and 248 bottles of codeine cough syrup? Okay, here we go. Can you calculate the street value associated with these particular things? We got to find this out. Okay? We got to find this out. They have not given a value. The police seized 200 kilograms of suspected cocaine and 248 bottles of codeine cough syrup. The official estimated value has not been released. They haven't released the value. The valuation should come directly from the police, the customs, or the court filings, because street values vary, but purity and location and how the drugs are packaged or distributed, that makes a determination. So they indicated to me that they can't give a value. They indicate to me they can't give a value. They can't be able to give me that kind of a clarity, because I was looking through the story to identify exactly what the value would be in these particular areas, and it will not give it to me. It would not. I looked in various sources. It will not give it to me. And that's okay. But I can tell you one thing. 440 pounds of cocaine equates to a good chunk of change. But I don't know why no one has taken on the time to be able to elaborate on what our expectations are for Marvin Dames. Everyone has just kind of let that go on. No one said anything about Marvin Dames. 15 days before the election, The Guardian sought the necessity for being able to stretch out this story far and wide and double down on this sort of a concept and idea that Shannon Cartwright is squeaky clean. They never said anything about Mikhail Barnaby, but they just need to let you know that Shannon Cartwright is squeaky clean. He's gone through the process. What about Mikhail Barnaby? That's sort of the subterranean conversation that's happening over at Guardian. Simultaneously, they have neglected, rejected the sort of an idea of being able to look at the official opposition in the capacity in Mount Moriah to identify exactly the position that is with Marvin Dames. Marvin Dames, based upon speculation and possible proximity, the ownership of the vessel, you have to be questioned. If I send my Tesla over to the United States of America with 2 keys of narcotics inside of the tire in the back, and I could say, no, I didn't put that there, I guarantee you I would be questioned. I don't think your elevated position should be able to cause you to be overlooked for questioning. I don't think by being able to fortify your trusted position in years gone by that you could be able to kind of skip past this concept and idea of being probed for possibly for merely a proximity, your proximity. Merely your proximity. You got to be questioned if only for your proximity. The fella says, if you catching a ride and a vehicle is stopped and drugs is being found in this vehicle, you just catching a ride. You only catching a ride. You know how much fella's going to jail for that? You only catching a ride. Yeah, stories upon stories coming out of the United States of America. A fellas was catching a ride, and all of a sudden the fellas then gone on the shootout. You in the car, trying to figure out, hey, what y'all doing? I had a cousin in the United States of America. He said to me, let's go out tonight. I used to go hang out with him all the time on the weekends. All right, I'm living in Freeport, in Grand Bahama, and he lives in Fort Lauderdale, right, South Florida. So I said to him, I coming over by you. He said, no problem. I'm going over by him. And I said, let's go do something tonight, right? He said, where? He said, there's a crazy car show. Now, we were young, right? So we like cars, right? So he said, it's a crazy car show. They can have a big cars and all these, This was when in Miami they used to put the donks, the cars on 26-inch rims, and it was crazy. I wanted to go. So I said, all right, man, let's go. So he says, all right, let's go. So he grabs. Now, in Florida, you have a concealed license. You have a license to carry a concealed gun. You can do that in South Florida. So he had a license to carry his gun. Now, there were some rules and regulations associated with it. If you carried it, you had to lock it up. Then you had to put it in your glove compartment. You got to lock the glove compartment. You got to do this, you got to do that. All these things are steps to be able to put you in a position of thinking before you go and just kind of pull out your weapon and use it for no reason. So you had to go through these particular steps. And so he did that. But what freaked me out is that he picked up 2 guns. right? So I said, what are you doing? So he said, we getting to the car show, right? I said, of course we're getting to the car show. He said, yeah, but you never know what's going on. I got to carry my guns. I said, so what are you doing? So he says, carry my gun. I said, bro, listen to me. I've been coming to Fort Lauderdale in Miami with my mother from she was working at American Eagle as a child. All my life. All my life. I was coming to Fort Lauderdale. I was traveling up and down. I know every place around here all my life. I never carry a gun nowhere. I said, and on top of that, where are we going that you need 2 guns? 2. And I don't have 1. This don't make no sense, huh? We don't need to go there at all. We don't need to go there at all. Do you hear me? Leave your guns home. Let's find some place else. Let's go watch a movie. Let's watch a movie. You don't need to go. You don't need to. Listen to me. My point to you, with clarity, that despite the fact that you had or you did not have, you're guilty by association. But no one's stretching this conversation out. No one is stretching this conversation out to find out whether or not there even is 6 degrees of separation of potential guilt in Marvin Dames. No one. No one asks any question. You let it go. His authoritative position and the elevated position that he's set in nationally before has sort of a cleansing effect. And as a result of his position, you overlook everything else. You overlook everything else. Oh, he could not possibly do these things, Howard. He was Minister of National Security. Howard, come on, stop it. He was identified for one of the persons who could be the commissioner of police at one point in this country. Come on, now, let's stop it, Howard. Howard, the only thing that this man has ever known in his entire life is law enforcement. I don't reject and neglect any of these particular things. I'm simply saying to you, for you and I, who all our life we was paying tithes, you remember from you as a child getting to church with Grammy, and if you'd say anything in that thing, you get one little pinch. You couldn't even open a candy on the side of Grammy. You was in church your whole life. You decent. You only know church culture. But you catch one ride and they got you doing a little shuffle down the bank lane. Nobody put no shackles, no question, no probe, no nothing. But the Guardian stretching this conversation far and wide to make squeaky clean Shannon on Cartwright, to give you an innuendo of Michael Barnaby and say absolutely nothing about Marvin Dames. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. And I said so much to you just now without saying one word. This political time is a very peculiar time. Very, very peculiar time. Very peculiar time. It's a strong time in this country. It's a time where all of us live in this kind of a space to make a determination as to whether or not we're moving in a particular direction. This is a very, 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 very strong thing. Now I'm going to talk to you about it. But let's go on. I think I touched that enough for the day. I ain't gonna do nothing else with that. I'm gonna leave that right there. Parliamentary Registration Department says that voter registry will be published today. Yesterday you would have been able to see the chairman of the organization for the Free National Movement, Dwayne Sands, take on this kind of a position to be able to put question to the Parliamentary Registration Commissioner in the person of none other than Harrison Thompson, and indicated that on a Sunday there is an expectation to be able to have a certain things available to you, accessible to you, so forth and so on. And he has not seen that. Come on, let's talk to me. So let's just pull it up so you can be able to hear it. And you won't be a stranger to the information. You'll know exactly what's what. All right, so let's look for that. That should be I think it's going to be on Eyewitness. Let's look on Eyewitness and see what's what. Hold up.
By law, the
Hold on.
certified register.
Check this out. This is Dwayne Sands. He's setting the record straight following the assertions made by the Free National Movement Chairman Dwayne Sands that the government failed to make the certified voter registration available within the constitutional indicated timeline. Let's check it out.
For the advance poll. By law, the certified register should have been available to be scrutinized by all of the participants and their various teams. Despite the requirement in law, the register is not available. We have no idea when it will be available. And their excuse is, well, we are trying. That is unacceptable. It is a disgrace, and they really ought to do better.
And so I just wish to draw the public to the specific area of the law that I believe that he's referring to, and to provide some clarification. Under the Parliamentary Elections Act, Section 25(2)(a), it states that the Parliamentary Commissioner shall, on the 15th day following the day of the issue of the writ of election, publish a register at the office of the Parliamentary Commissioner. We are aware that the writ was issued on April 9th, so the day following would be April 10th. That would be when that 15 days starts to run. So April 10th would be the first day. It's important to read that in conjunction with Section 2 of the Parliamentary Elections Act that actually defines a day. And it says that a day includes every day other than Sunday or a public holiday. And so if you count day one being April 10th, and you count 15 days and you exclude the 3 Sundays that are in there, then that takes you to April 27th, which is tomorrow.
We are 4 days before the advance poll. By law.
So, there's technicality and technical rigmarole for you to be able to understand. And so all of you guys paying attention to that, let's see exactly what the Parliamentary Registration Department said yesterday, that it refuted concerns of the Free National Movement and the chairman, Dwayne Sands, who claimed that the publishing of the voters' registry was overdue. Sands, in a video outside of the Parliamentary Registration Department, said that it was unacceptable and a disgrace that the register did not have yet, has not been yet available for persons to be able to peruse and do what they have to do. So he says, we have no idea. Let's go to 12. We have no idea whether or not the persons who requested to be put on the advance poll would have been put on the advance poll register. This is what he said. He says, we have no idea whether dead people have been removed from the register, whether or not there's been appropriate transfer have been made. However, the Parliamentary Registration Department assured that it is operating within the timelines stipulated by the Parliamentary Election Act. For clarity, and then you would have heard all that information yesterday, just now on the clip. For clarity, essentially he's saying to you, on the 10th, minus the 3 Sundays, so forth and so on, it's the time. So it'll be available tomorrow. This is a lot. I think the Free National Movement has taken on this kind of a position. I don't know. That coupled with this kind of a position of Michael Pintard, I want to play a little something for you from Michael Pintard also, so we could be able to do that. Hold up, let me pull it up. Michael Pintard has
have an invoice where someone know that they.
Michael Pintard has taken on this posture in his recent rallying and being able to speak to persons. His live rally, the event that they held last night, Michael Pintard made a plea to his people not to vote independent, to consider the Free National Movement, to bring them back to the forefront. This is essentially what Michael Pintard has been doing. And it's a plea, It's a plea. Yeah, this is in a paper. I was hoping that they had an audio for it. I wanted you to hear it. They don't have an audio for it. Let's read it. This is in The Guardian again. It says, less than 1 week ahead of the advance poll, Free National Movement members, leader Michael Pintard urged frustrated voters to give the party a second chance, as he cautioned against voting for third parties or independent candidates. I thought it was a very peculiar thing. It's just me. It's just Howard. It's just me. And it goes forward. It says that this election matters, Pintard said to the North Andrews rally Thursday night. That's what he said on Thursday night. This election matters. And then he goes on to be able to talk about what you do matters. If you vote for a third party, you vote, or if you vote for an independent, you're voting for the PLP. I think that's mad crazy. I think that's absolutely bananas. I think we can think these things. It's okay. It's okay for us to be able to have these thoughts linger in the spaces of our mind, for have these conversations to be able to populate the councils or the small contingents that we have within our spaces. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think it's okay for us to talk amongst ourselves in small spaces about strategies, concepts, ideas to be able to cause persons to reject, to deflect, to be able to move away from the concept of an idea of looking at the COI, which is a third organization, or an independent as a possible option. Yeah, among ourselves in our caucus, I think we could talk like this. Among ourselves, in our little space, I think we could say things like, "Child, hey, listen to me. We got to do something with this. Boom, boom, boom." I think we could say that. I think it's okay. In our caucus, amongst ourselves, I think it is okay. That's no problem. But when you come into the general public and you start to tell people, forget this concept and idea of democracy, reject it entirely, choose us. There's only one choice. Choose us. There's sort of an idea that you think you have any choice. Let me just be very clear and real with you. That's not really a choice. In fact, that choice is specifically and emphatically a choice for the PLP. You may believe that it's a choice for an independent of the COI, but the truth is that you're taking away from us. There's no real chance in hell that these people will ever win. So essentially, if you give them your vote, all you're doing is neglecting us a vote. And if you neglect us a vote, you're voting for the PLP. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. If you neglect us a vote, you're voting for the PLP. So give us a second chance, man. Don't vote for them boys. Vote for us. And guess who he's talking to? The FNM base. He's not talking to PLPs. PLPs ain't listening to that. He's not talking about PLP, the persons who have any inclination of being able to move towards a progressive party. That's not a conversation that he's having. He's talking to FNMs. FNMs, I've told you on many occasions, there is no base in the Free National Movement. How could you possibly say that the Free National Movement is an organization that has existed for the past 50 years, and as a result of the organization, we've won X amount of electoral cycles and periods. We have a noted leader in this country. Yeah. I can hear all these things that you're saying. I still say it. The Free National Movement don't have a base. I stand steadfast on that. I stand 10 toes down and say that to you. The Free National Movement has no base. None. Their base is fluid. It moves with the ebbs and flows of life. Their base, with the pronouncement over its concept and idea by everyone who stood, whether that's a founding leader, whether that's a chairman, whether that's a leader, they perpetuate and amplify the concept. Someone listen to me, please. The Free National Movement perpetuates and amplifies the concept of dissidents that exists within the core, the DNA of the organization. They amplify that. And they like to equate this dissidence, this relentless fluidity of looking for someplace else to go. My God, I just want to be very clear with you. This like an orphan. You finally put the orphan up in some place, but there is something in the orphan that say, I got to find my real mommy. So she breaking away every chance she get to look for something else. And then you catch her and try to drag her back. But she don't want to be there. Every chance she get. That's what dissidence is. That's what dissidence is. Dissidence that exists within the confines of the Free National Movement is like a proverbial orphan relentlessly seeking after its true origin. Seeking after something that is actually real and tangible. This is what the Free National Movement perpetuates, amplifies, identifies, embraces in the organization. They say, well, this is a dissident organization, and, the fact of the matter is this is where democracy is rich and real. But that's not true. That is not true. That's not true. Because you can't beat them, you join them, or you create a narrative that says, well, they're only leaving because this is democracy and they can leave. This is not true what you're saying about the Free National Movement. The dissidents that exist in the Free National Movement, let me be clear with you and let's talk about this, then we can take a break. The dissidents that exist within the Free National Movement has caused the organization not to have a base. They do not have a base. Anytime that there's a viable option, anytime that there's, an opportunity to be able to drift off, this is where it is. I can break this down for you, and you ain't gonna like me, but we can do this today. In the organization right now, in 1992, from the 80s actually, in the 80s when they had Ronald Reagan as President of the United States of America, okay? As Ronald Reagan sat in the capacity and position of President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan brought something different, something flavorful to the DNC. To the GOP. Okay? Grand old party. That's the Republicans. Okay? Ronald Reagan brought something different to the party. Now, Ronald Reagan had affiliations with movies, so he brought character, he brought personality, he brought sort of a flavor, sort of a flair, sort of a salt to the organization. They were lily white, just conservative, Bible-thumping, Bible Belt concepts and religious at its core. And so Reagan came in and changed this concept just a bit and really gave a sense of flavor to the organization, to the GOP. All right? As a result of that, his policies, ideas that came to the forefront that was cutting edge, a lot of persons gravitated towards it, and it shifted the mindset of a great deal of people in the organization, so much so that people would start saying, I am a Reaganite. I subscribe to the themes and concepts and ideas pushed forward by Ronald Reagan. I'm a Reaganite. Okay? As a result of this concept and the constant studying of American politics in this country, because of our proximity and otherwise, this language was picked up here. They tried to make this sort of an idea stick with Cecil Wallace. Now, you never hear nobody say Pindenite, but you've always heard a Cecilite. This concept was birthed in the Free National Movement. And the reason why they sought after a leader, after a philosophy, after an idea, is because they did not have a base. Unlike the PLP, they can't run back to the constitutional tenets in their organization and their pillars to identify this is what the organization stands for. This is the organization. The organization is a social organization socialist elements with the desire to be able to do all the heavy lifting, lift all the burdens, help all the poor people, so forth and so on. That is the core of the PLP. The Free National Movement does not have that. They don't have a spoken agenda that they all can be able to say that this is what we've identified the Free National Movement to be for and about. The reason that they haven't done that is because they haven't had any time, simply because of the dissidence that exists within them. This is my interpretation. This is my evaluation. You could fight me if you want. 827-0111. The Free National Movement has never had an anchor. They tried to be able to create this makeshift anchor with Cecil Wallace Whitfield. And they would say things like, I'm a Cecilite. The persons who would have made that pronouncement as I'm a Cecilite, they still remain committed, if they are alive, to the tenets, principles of the individual Cecil Wallace Whitfield. Cecilite. Okay? The reasons why they gravitated, kept steadfast to this concept of a Cecilite, is because they agreed with the tenets, principles, and the spirit of the man, Cecil Wallace Whitfield, similar to what is happening in Reagan's party. That's what the GOP became, Reagan's party. Okay? Anybody who came after Ronald Reagan had to mimic, in a sense, what he did. So his charm, his personality, all these particular things, they were looking for that proverbial salt to be retained and remained in this particular space. Let's have a clear conversation. I like talking like this. I like this. Cecil Wallace Whitfield could not win. He could not win. He could not take the Free National Movement to victory. He could not win. We like him. We like his tenets. We like his ideas. We like his concepts. We like his spirit. We like his determination. We like his articulation. We like his ability to pull people together. We believe in him. We believe in these particular things, but we could not win. And he fell ill. They gone off searching for another person, and that person was Hubert Ingram. Ingram, identifying those tenets that was left in place by Cecil Wallace Whitfield, making a determination as to the temperature of the environment and the expectations in that particular environment, also bringing with him the experience and understanding of what exists with their opponents in the PLP. He just came out of the PLP. Ingram was able to take him not just to the frontier of the threshold. He took him over. He took him to victory. Oh my God, he took us to victory, baby. Ingram. And those persons who had not been fully immersed and baptized in the concept of being a Cecilite converted to an Ingramite. Listen, you're still in here Christiite. You're still in here Pinlinite. You're still in here Braveite. You never hear none of these conversations because the PLP's base is committed to the tenets of the organization, not to an individual. But because of the fluidity that exists in the Free National Movement and the dissidence that exists in there, that spirit like a runaway orphan. Every time you catch the orphan, they still won't run. There's sort of an idea of seeking relentlessly and perpetually liberty is what the FNM is. So it goes back to my point. The FNM does not have a base. Those persons who've committed to Hubert Alexander Ingram, especially after he found victory, they solidified, they cemented themselves to Ingram. Okay, y'all, I just get too deep for y'all, you know. I know I get too deep, but follow me. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Follow me. The Free National Movement does not have a base. Their base now is solidified and anchored in Hubert Alexander Ingram. They still ain't attached to their constitutional position. They still don't have a social position that they can be able to identify. They have in all these issues, the Free National Movement, right now, trying to be able to make a determination as to exactly what's what. So they've gone from Cecilite to Ingramite. And then they gone from Ingramite, you will hear it. Tell me if I lie. You will hear Minnacite. The only one I never hear is Pintard, nothing. They never ever tried to articulate you at any bracket of leadership. The issue with the Free National Movement is that you don't have nothing for people to hold on to. And what Pintard is doing right here at being able to speak to independents and anyone who wants to be able to get to a third fraction or third organization, he's speaking to the FNM base because that's be the first people to vote for any organization that seems to have something else. Is this the mother that we've been looking for? Is this the leadership that we've been looking for? Bam, break away from the organization, go on to the DNA. Bam, break away from the organization, go on to the COI. Bam, break from the organization, start to think about how we do this. Even in the midst of the organization, when Loretta was in that particular capacity. Bam, trying to be able to rebirth and rebrand and restructure the organization from within. The spirit of dissidence is rich in the organization. There's sort of an idea of rejection to the democratic look in the organization is a very serious thing. It says to me, as Pintard takes on this position, see, you all have to get deeper into the philosophical concepts of what these organizations mean and what they stand for, because you will have leaders come before you saying one pile of foolishness and you don't know how to be able to decipher because you're going with the ebbs and flows with the wind of the day, but you don't know where the anchor exists. So you're drifting. You are afloat. You are adrift. The Free National Movement at this time, when Michael Pintard is saying what he's saying, it says to me that you are adrift and you wish to anchor yourself in the middle of the ocean. There is no proverbial land around you, sir. You're not affixed to anything. And your anchor cannot hold because there's no overarching theme that all of us can agree upon that this is what the FNM stands for. FNM has perpetuated this sort of a concept over years and years and years about being able to amplify and assist foreign. I know you can fight me. I know you can fight me. And it's okay. I like a good fight. 827-0111, 827-0111. Pintard saying, give the FNM a second chance. A second chance? So the FNM is not in? This is what the FNM should have said in 2021. Give the FNM a second chance. For you to revive this kind of a conversation of giving the FNM a second chance, you and Julian Gibson don't know what y'all talking about. Julian Gibson said, and this time when you vote for the PLP, for the FNM, you got to get yourself together. Give us a second chance. Second chance, this is the first chance, first administration, new concept, new slate, new ideas. All these particular things supposed to come to the forefront. If you come here with a second chance concept, it says to me that there hasn't been a hard reset in the organization. Talk to me. Guys, I want to take this commercial break. Maurice, I want to be able to take this commercial break and be able to make some things happen. I want to thank you guys for jamming with us. So please be a part of what we're doing. 827-0111, 827-0111. This is The Foundation with Howard Grant. Quick break, guys. Going to be right back after this. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Foundation with Howard Grant, jamming with you, talking about these particular things. I know it's a peculiar thing. I know y'all gonna fight me as we continue to talk about these things, trying to be able to make these things happen. But I think it's important that we break this down for you and just we talk, man. Listen, a lot of people deny this sort of a concept and idea, but the truth is that philosophy is crucial. Okay. Other than that, you are a slave to the ebbs and flows of life. You're a slave to the rhythm. You're a slave to the concepts, the ups and downs, the peaks and the valleys of how things happen. You can't stand in conviction if there isn't a theological. You can't stand in this kind of a position if you don't have a theory as to why. If you can't connect with something that's bigger than you. I did a thing. And this is probably why I continue to be able to run after these things. And in Grand Bahama, I did something. We started a group called Men on the Move for Christ. Right, great guys. I mean, listen, it was a wonderful thing. We had these guys. We come together every week and do Bible study and prayer. And this wasn't something that anybody orchestrated. This was internal. We decided to be able to do this among ourselves. And I don't know. It just didn't. And it should have. It really should have. But it didn't. I don't know. I guess it wasn't anchored the way it should. It didn't have the kind of support. But these were committed guys. I mean, really sold out for Christ to be able to do the things that we're called to do. So we started the Men on the Move for Christ. And in the midst of being able to start that group, I started to think about this sort of an idea of the responsibility that I have individually to be able to ensure that the least I do for these, I do for Christ. The least I do for these, this kind of a commitment that I make. Feeding people. Listen, I didn't have any job. I was between jobs at a point, but I knew that I had to do something bigger with my life. I was hustling and cutting grass and all these things that are trying to, but I knew that I had to do something more with my life. And my wife made an investment in what I did. She gave me $5,000. With the $5,000, I buy a bunch of food for the kids. I brought the Cooling Waters down to 8 Mile High School. I brought T.G. Morrison down. And we started this sort of a motivational speaking thing just to be able to encourage and inspire some people in 8 Mile High School, the kids. It was Speak Life. So I get some T-shirts made. I get this and that. I try to do it professional based upon what I've seen and how other persons have done it. I try to be able to do that and present it professional and polished in this environment. I invited all the news. I get a little tent. I made the tent out in the back of 8 Mile High School gym, and we did everything, and it was a beautiful time. The teachers let all the boys out of the class. We fed all the boys. Lino cooked the food. I mean, listen, it was an overwhelming thing for me. I ain't get a dime for that. I wasn't able to put one dime back for that. But as I sat down, because I was going for like 3 weeks straight, just trying to be able to organize it. And as I sat down and I saw it come together, and I see the kids walking up and picking up the breakfast and sitting down, and nobody count the cost of what this costs, right? And Cooling Waters, Chubby singing, and they ministering to the kids, I cried. I sat in the back, way in the back in the tent, but nobody was. And I was so overwhelmed, I started to cry. I was overwhelmed with joy. So much it brought me to tears because I felt and I knew that my purpose was greater than just being able to pursue finances for myself. That with the time that we have in this life, if we don't figure out how to help somebody, our living would have been in vain. If we don't figure out how to reach out to someone, and you may think that this is an insignificant thing, just one meal out, or whatever the case may be. It's an expensive meal, Jesus. I had to feed all these children. And we did like a breakfast and juice and everything. This is expensive. And I didn't have any sponsorships. The sponsor was my wife. From that day to now, she never mentioned that $5,000. But I can tell you one thing. That is an account of her head. But she understood the mission. She understood these particular things. That's why you need to get a good, decent woman who understands you. I understand these things. And I'm going to say this to you, man. We have to put ourselves in the position where we understand that the mission is greater than the man. And when you find yourselves in these positions, you always have to be able to have the mission override the man. The issue that I'm looking at in the Free National Movement is that the issue has not risen above the man. The concepts, the ideas, the approach has not risen above the man. If conversations could still be vote for me, this is about me, defending me, then the mission is not big enough for all of us. The vision isn't big enough to house all of us. It only could house you. This is an umbrella of a mission. Everybody else is getting rained upon. And I just got to be able to say this to you. This is how I interpret it. And I want to be involved with something that philosophically bigger than me. I want to be involved with something that is I want to be involved in a faith that is philosophically better than mine. I see one of these guys that work for me. He's a part of a specific church. Let me don't call the church name. And the church, he says, boss, I can't drink black tea and green tea. So I say, what? I buy the teas and everything like that, make sure everybody's accommodated, make sure they're comfortable. So I got everything for them. Whatever they ask me for, I get it. He say, well, boss, I can't drink the black tea and the green tea. So I said, what? What happened? He said, this is not good for you. I said, what you mean? I know the constipation associated with the black tea, but the green tea, what's the matter with it? He said, it's a part of my doctrine. Based upon my doctrine, we don't drink this. I couldn't understand this. There is a doctrine that is designed strategically to be able to put you in a space of limbo. It doesn't give you the democratic liberation, accessibility of being able to identify these things. It confines you to religion and rejects the concept of relationship. There's a doctrine that continues to be able to reject the idea of religion and the concepts of being able to try and prove Christ, God, and say, look, nowhere else but here in the confines of this particular religion and you'll be okay. Whilst the Bible and its foundation says, study to show yourself approved, giving you examples of the prodigal son that goes off and try to be able to taste and see whether or not there is an opportunity that exists elsewhere, but having to come back. The entire concept of the Bible, outside of this sort of a reading of the Logos in the Old Testament, just the word by itself. If you take a step back and look at the panoramic view, and the tying in concept, the Bible allows you the liberty to be able to go off, especially after Christ would have died for our sins, go off and says to you, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. anyone giving you a doctrine to say don't look anywhere else don't have strength. I just get mad preachy with y'all, and this just only Monday. Anyone saying to you outside of being able to taste and see, if they tell you don't drink that, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. I'm not talking to you about this sort of a concept, an idea of understanding that you shave some of the worldly concepts and be in the world but not of the world. That's not what I'm talking to you about. I'm not talking to you about this sort of an idea where the word of God says to you, come as thou art, and then be ye transformed in your thinking. That's not what I'm talking to you about. I'm saying to you that there are proverbial blinders, like what the horses have, that keeps your peripheral dark, and your inability to see to your left or to your right to make a determination places you on this path that you may believe is the straight and narrow. But if you open your eyes, you will see that this is the wide path that you just in the middle of the road. Any organization that says to you, don't look at nobody else, and perpetuates this sort of an idea that there are democracy, is an organization that you have to be able to be questionable about. This is Howard. This is Howard. I think I read into things a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much. It's maybe a little bit too deep. Is it too much for you? Maybe a little bit deep. I don't know. I ain't gonna fight you. It's okay. Maybe it's a little deep. If you want to be a part of the conversation, I'd love you to do so. Hit me up, 827-0111, 827-0111. There's a couple of texts I got here. Let me see if I can read a couple of texts. Good afternoon, Howard. Cecil Wallace Whitfield couldn't win the election because of the split in the party that caused the Free National Movement the 1977 election. That's the FNM's worst election defeat in the FNM history. 2 seats won, and the leader lost his seat in 2017 election. Was the best election for the Free National Movement history. 92,000 voters, and the Free National Movement and 35 seats won. But the PLP's worst election ever for the PLP was 4 seats won, and the first worst election for the PLP history, and the leaders lost his seat. Yes. It goes on and says, again, Howard, the Free National Movement had 4 bad elections, 2002, 2012, 2021, 2026. Are you but doing this? Hold on. Oh, you can put 26 on the thing. We ain't even been there yet. I can put 26 on the thing. I can do that. 26 election with the extremely low 2026 election with the extremely low campaign budget and the lowest in FNM history. Michael Pintard lost 3 elections to Philip Brave Davis in 2007 election. He ran against Brave in the constituency and lost in 2000. Number 2 and 3 says in 2 by-elections, 1 in West End and the 2nd in Southern Shores. Now this will make the 4th trying if Michael Pintard lost the election. It will be 4 times Michael Pintard tried to defeat Philip Brave Davis and lost. Oh, Jesus. I can't believe you put those words in that kind of a sequence to read. This was a lot. No, I am convinced, and I don't want to be I want to be very clear in this kind of a conversation. I don't see nobody as ahead. I don't see the PLP as ahead. I don't see the FNM as behind. Not now. 15 days out, I don't see anybody as ahead. There is one day, I don't care the preparation that you do. I don't care the training that you do. I don't care all these things. That doesn't matter. This is not game day. Game day is May 12th. The FNM is not ahead or behind. The PLP is not ahead or behind. On May 12th, everyone starts, including the independents and the COI. Everyone starts in the starters block. Everyone starts, and they have to be able to prepare themselves in the starting block. And at 8 a.m., bam! 8 a.m., the gun goes off. You got from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 10 hours. You got 10 hours. You got 10 hours to run your race. And on that day, you don't get to be able to coach nobody. You don't get to do anything. So this preparation, you would hope that those persons would have absorbed the information and apply it accordingly on the day of. Amen? Amen. I don't see this as that. And I don't want to make these kind of predictions to say that Michael Pintard will do this and Michael Pintard will do that. And I don't want to do that. That's not what this is. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I think that is absolutely inappropriate for us to kind of take on this kind of a position and talk about that. I don't want to do that. Michael Pintard is going to lose. I got some theories that says, and I could say this, I got some theories to say that if Michael Pintard loses, I don't see the 4. I understand what my texter says about the 4 defeats to Brave Davis. But more specifically, we are identifying 3 defeats that he drug the entire organization down with him with. The defeat in West Grand Bahama, the defeat in Golden Isles, and then the defeat at the polls in May 12th. In the event that this happens, the organization will have to make a decision to be able to identify new leadership. It's no two ways about that. The organization will have to make a decision to identify. He would have been the only leader to lose this much consecutively within the space of 4 years. Michael Pintard. And there is a record that's being held within the confines of the organization that says, we told you not to go to the first by-election. We told you not to go to the second by-election, right? We told you not to go to those particular things. You made a decision. You weakened the party. We may not necessarily have the financial wherewithal, or as a result of the disappointment of what the donors would have identified in the first 2 by-elections, we did not have the wherewithal, the capacity to ask them for a drawdown for the general election, leaving us vulnerable and leaving us in a space where we were running almost a scrap gang campaign against a significantly polished campaign with the Progressive Liberal Party. We told you not to do this, and as a result, you put us in this position. And placing us in this position diminished the organization, if only from an aesthetic standpoint, not necessarily changing what we stood for, our unity in the organization, and what our expectations are futuristically. But you have damaged us in this particular stead, and we ask you, with the greatest degree of respect, to step down. Now, you may not believe that they will do that, but the Free National Movement has just alleviated themselves, and we got to say it like that, alleviated themselves of the burden of being able to have to identify and answer to what Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis is doing as an independent and relentlessly being able to push in the constituency of Kalani against the very clear understanding of what is expected within the confines of the organization. Now, let's talk about this. Dwayne Sands has indicated that in due course, in due time, that the organization will take the steps to be able to separate themselves, divorce themselves entirely. This is only a legal separation that exists between Dr. Minnis and the Free National Movement. This is identified as a legal separation. Now, if you understand what legal separations are, this is sort of the proverbial Y in the road. This is that fork in the road. This is that juncture that you come to, right? That kind of a Y in the road. This is that space that you come to, that you have to make a determination as to whether you go left or right. Okay, so left could be reunited, and Wright could be entirely divorced. But after you get to this Y in the road, you can no longer travel the course as though you've done before. The Free National Movement has brought Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis to the proverbial Y in the road. Why? Now, they didn't give him the option of being able to decide whether or not he will stay with the organization or leave. They spoke to him on that path as he traveled towards that Y and say to him, Doc, if you do this, if you do that, these things are going to happen. He made his decision to keep abreast and to keep up traveling to that juncture. Dr. Minnis did that. When he got to the juncture, the organization had the responsibility of presenting him the information that says, we wish you to go left. Left is a legal separation for the organization. Minnis didn't have no choice. He had to take the card that said, I go left. Minnis articulated that to the Bahamian people as abandonment. There are rules and regulations that govern any and every political organization. And you all forget that these are organizations of rules. You forget that. You think that these are just some ad hoc organizations that just run willy-nilly and doing as they desire. There are rules and regulations that govern these organizations. Let's be very clear about it, okay? Let's not pretend about it. Let's be very clear about it. After Minnis made a decision to go independent, he knew without a shadow of a doubt, that this would cause him to deflect against the organization. Let's be clear about this now. Why, Howard? Let's be clear about this. Leroy Major and I had a conversation most recently. Leroy Major and I had a conversation most recently. And Leroy Major indicated to me that he had an opportunity to be able to speak with leadership. And with that opportunity, the leadership, he would have lent his support behind Clint Watson for that leadership capacity. This is what he said. He said, I could lend my support behind Clint Watson. I'd like to see Clint Watson do it. And I stand behind Clint Watson. There's no problem. But if they give it to Obi, I'm going to deflect and I'm going to run independent against him. I'm going to beat him. This is what he said. I said, hold on. But if you do that, you know what's going to happen. Leroy Major decided to run independent. Now, the party has already identified a candidate in the constituency of Southern Shores. The party and its caucus, the rules and regulations that govern the organization, and the mechanisms that have identified candidates from the internal aspect, has identified a candidate. And in identifying that particular candidate, that candidate has been ratified, identified by the body, accepted, and taken on this kind of a position as a candidate in the constituency of Southern Shores. The party understands that. Now, you was a PLP. If you decide to reject the idea of what has been sent to that constituency and you decide to go AWOL, reject that notion and do it on your own, you have fired yourself from the organization. You have put your own name on a blacklist in the organization. You have said to the party, I think that you are wrong. I am taking my own course. I will challenge you at the polls. That is considered political mutiny. And what Hubert Ingram did in terms of being able to support his guy, Bullough, over the leadership's choice in Sean McQueenie was political mutiny. And you fire yourself. It's politics in this country. That it's a principle that exists in these things, and it don't matter if you was a leader or deputy leader or a former chairman or anything in the organization. You could be a founding member. The rules and regulations say if you go against this, this is going to be the consequence. Now, hello? What happened? You see that Minnis decided to deflect, reject, deny the organization the position of being able to say what they can or cannot do with his political fate and future. He decided to take it into his own hands. And that is the reason why he get fired. I don't make this no more than what it's supposed to be. He get fired because he won't go independent. If the party tell you sit down, what you do? You're supposed to sit down. You can't stand up and if the party tell you sit down, if the whip is on, if the party say to do this, listen, democracy has its pleasures, has its access, has its benefits. But there are rules and regulations within the confines of each one of the decisions that you make. Jesus Christ gave us free will. But if we decide to go contrary to that thing that could give you everlasting life, you will get everlasting something, but it ain't gonna be no life. You get to make your own decision. Let every man work out his own soul salvation with what? Fear and trembling. Every bucket got to start on its own bottom. If Dr. Mizzen make this decision, he must know what he's doing. He got enough money, he got $19 million, he's straight. You don't have $1,900 in the bank and you want to be a politician. Ain't nobody fighting you. Nobody fighting you. Do as you please. But that is the position that holds on these particular things. It's been a lengthy conversation about these particular things, but I try to make you to understand how we have to bob and weave through these concepts and make it make sense to us and make it make sense to the future of the country as we continue to be able to move forward. We have to look at this. We must look at this. Eight 827-0111. This is I think the PLP is slightly ahead. Okay. Howard, I know you don't want to do that, but I say slightly because anything can happen on the 50th. That's why I don't want to do it. It didn't make no sense saying who ahead and who behind. Who ahead and who behind. None of us know. None of us know until the day of. Now we can know within the 5th hour, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. By 1 o'clock on May 12th, no later than 2:30, we're going to know who the victory is, who the victory belongs to. Because after 2:30, you're not going to have a surge of 15,000 people come and vote. That's not going to happen. In the morning, you're going to have the majority of persons vote. Your returning officers, those persons who work in the polls, those persons who could be able to identify, those persons who are standing there at the polls, who see somebody throw the little crab up in the air, who see somebody else throw the torch in the air, who see somebody throw the power fist in the air they make this kind of a determination subtly and just being able to calculate in their polling division. Their polling division holds maybe about 400 or 500 polls, 300 to 500 persons in their polling divisions. So they have their teams in that polling division. And more specifically, that team would be familiar with what's happening in the constituency and that polling division. Okay, so let's say in a constituency, there are 14. The constituency is broken down anywhere between 9 and 14 polling divisions. Okay? So the boundary for the entire constituency is one thing, but there's a division that's broken down into each one of the areas. So polling division number 1 may be this school, that school, this area, boom, 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 these streets, right? Polling division number 2, the same thing. If you look at your voter's card, the voter's card will be able to give you clearly which polling division number that you're in. Okay? The polling division that you're in has a propensity to be able to move in one direction or another. You could look at that historically. You could look at your polling division in the constituency that you're in and say, this constituency and in this polling division, they have always voted F&M. They have always voted PLP. You could do that. You could look at it and say, okay, this is where we are. So going in, and this is what separates the sheep from the goat when it comes to campaigning. I can tell you all don't know how to campaign. Nobody never teach you all nothing, and you only never learn science. You probably never learn sense either. I'm not going to fight you for that, but I know you don't know science. I know you don't know how to count, and you don't know maths. And I know you don't know how to structure and study. You study the last 3 times people voted in this constituency. That's what you should study. You study the last 3 times people have voted in this constituency in this polling division. You look at the numbers from 2007. You look at the numbers from 2012. You look at the numbers for 2017, and you look at the numbers for 2021. Okay? 12, 17, 21. In this polling division, when you identify those numbers and you determine, all right, in 2012, X amount of people voted in this polling division and X amount of people did not vote, and this is who won, and this is the number that they won by. And then you do the exact same thing for 2017. You look to see the numbers, positive numbers. You look to see the negative numbers, who voted, who didn't vote. You do the same thing in 21. By the time as you come to this poll in 26, you would know who got the edge. That's what you're going to know. When you get to the poll in 2026, you will know who has the edge. All right, this polling division has been won by the PLP for the last 3 times. Let me fix that. All right, this polling division has been won by the F&M for the last 3 times. And it seems like we may have the external momentum, but we got to change this because we don't know how this poll can vote. So you do your work. You realize that they won this poll by less than 33 voters. You do your homework and you realize that they did. In 2012, they won this poll by 23 votes. In 2017, they won this poll by 48 votes. In 2021, they won this poll by 32 votes. And every single time, 60 people did not come out. Every time. 60 people did not show up to vote. So to show you how many people voted in this poll, and how many people are registered to vote in this poll, and every time you would say 60 people didn't show up. Now, if you have studied and you're sharp, you go look and see, trying to figure out why y'all ain't coming to vote. What can we do to make you to get up and get out to vote? Well, I don't have no right, you know. My baby registered to vote, but they disabled. You know, we is PLP, but I can't get to the poll. Now you got to figure that out. Now you got to run out. Hey, go to Miss Mary on this day, boom, 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 boom. Go pick her up right now, tell her you coming, call her, this is a number, bang, 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 bang. That's how it would separate the sheep from the goat in these constituencies, to know how to do this. If you, listen, I can't have conversation with people never done it. I can't have your conversation, you know. I'm watching people all over the media, all over the news, all over new social media, all over talking about politics, and you never do nothing in this. You never do nothing in this. Never. You never walk. You don't know nothing about the calculations. You don't know nothing about the setup. You don't know nothing about... Listen, and I know you all never walk because you're dragging slippers, going to people's house. You know you're supposed to present yourself accordingly. Listen to me. You're supposed to have a class for this to make you to understand. Listen, my girls who used to walk with me in the DNA, I did them a customer service course before they start to walk. Ask them. That's what you're supposed to do. You all are not professional. You all don't know how to do this. You going around people's house smelling dirty and looking bad and nasty and things like that. You ain't clean. You getting around people's house and your face look dirty and your teeth dirty and your hair ain't fixed and so forth and so on. But you collecting information, all your heel black. Ain't nobody want to see that. You ain't pleasant to look upon. You get around people's house and you smell bad. No. You ain't bathed today. You come in here with your construction clothes on. No, you ain't ready for this. You ain't ready for this. You ain't ready for this. That's why I could tell you all. Let's read a couple more. Let's see exactly what's what. We got a couple more minutes before we get out of here, guys. 15 minutes. Hey, listen, we're going to do some overtime today. From 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're going to be on 104.5, all right? On ZNS 104.5. So check me out there, and we're going to be able to talk about that, right? So I think the PRP is slightly ahead, Howard. He said, yes, I would see that as a third defeat. Both of them at the heads of the party, yeah. So yeah, I think that if we're going to be able to talk about hypothetical and run so far with the possibility of being able to see change in the organization in the event that there is a defeat at the polls, yeah, I could say that there may be a defeat at the polls, or yeah, I could say that there may be a shift as a result of being able to make this happen. I agree with you. Let's look at these things. It's a peculiar thing that we start to be able to break these
Number
things
five,
down.
what's your name and why are you so rich?
Sorry.
What do your parents do?
Oh my God, we're surveying.
Hold on. Something wrong with this thing. I don't know what's happening. All right. Let's be clear about this now. Let's be clear about this. I have a view when it comes to the Free National Movement. I also have a view when it comes to the Progressive Party. And I could say to you what my expectations are. Over the weekend, I had a great opportunity to be able to be in Grand Bahama. On Sunday, actually, not over the whole weekend. I've been Sunday. Sunday morning, I jumped on Western Air and flew to Freeport on Sunday morning, 8 o'clock flight. And I was on the last flight, which should have been a 6 o'clock flight, but it was 2.5 hours delayed on Western Air, which is one of the first times I've ever seen a delay like that at Western Air. But we got in safe. It was a very quick 27-minute flight, 25-minute flight. And we were in and out, okay? Got to Freeport, 8 o'clock. My mother picked me up. She ain't on the church. The pastor caller, the priest caller trying to figure out where's Verne. Anybody see Verne Grant? Right? But my mother and I, we ride. She picked me up, and we go on about riding around Freeport. Okay? Freeport's campaign pales in comparison to Nassau. And say the truth. There's the truth. Okay? When I looked at the amount of paraphernalia distributed, when I look at I'm not talking about shirts, I'm talking about, let's talk about boards, the billboards and so forth and so on. I don't see that. I see a modified billboard. I see a nice little slender one with Ginger's face and being able to identify that. I thought that was cute, but is off brand to what the National Party did. And then I rode around, I saw a couple more. I didn't see much signage for the Free National Movement in Grand Bahama. The amount of persons on the signage on the poles pales in comparison. I sat down in every one of the spaces that I went to have conversations with people that I know, and even in spaces with people I don't know, there has not been a cohesive message of being able to choose the Free National Movement or choose the Progressive Liberal Party. I'm going to be very clear with you. In Grand Bahama, where there exists 5 seats, where there was at least 15,000 people that showed up for the Progressive Liberal Party's event in West End, there still wasn't enough information for me to be able to say this person or that person. Let's be clear about this. Let's be absolutely clear about this. And as we identify that, and as we talk about these things, we got to talk with clarity. I looked at it and I don't know what to make of it. I don't. I went to an event. My very good friend, childhood friend, and family actually, is my cousin, Theodore T.J. Mackey, was ordained as senior pastor of Midwest Church of God in Hannah Hill, 8 Maroc. It was the Hannah Hill Church of God. He is Midwest Church of God now. So he asked me to read the reflection, which I enjoyed doing thoroughly. I almost couldn't make it because I know I had to be in here and start a new show and start this and do that. And so I tried to be able to kind of back out of it. And he said, no, hell no, come on. And so I went over there and I was able to speak to him. I saw a great deal of people, Bishop them. And I hailed him up very quick. After it, I spoke about, it started at 3 o'clock. I supposed to be on the flight for 6 o'clock, It started at 3 o'clock. It didn't start until 3:30, 3:40 almost. And just after 4, they got to me. And so I did a little 5-minute, right? Well, I thought it was 5 minutes. I think it was a little bit longer than 5. The moderator, I think his name is Bishop Campbell, was standing up in the back of me the whole time. I didn't even know he was there because I was, at the lower podium and he was at the higher podium, and gave me the microphone, and I couldn't feel nobody tugging the back of my jacket, so I was just talking. But I had a wonderful time there, and there's a great deal of people that came out, and there is a rich appetite for a true sense of growth and development. And the representation of Pastor TJ and the numbers of persons that came out in celebration of his life, of that change and access and opportunity for the community, is a very, very clear representation for me for an appetite for change. Can I say this? I just want to be very clear with you. I just want to be very clear with you. As I look at this, I realize that there is an appetite for change. There's a celebration that exists in the subconscious of your heart, in the subdivisions of your heart, that's waiting to be unearthed so you could be able to say, yes, God, you did it. There is a desire to be able to see persons move in a direction undeniable into the position that God has called them to. I'm watching people show up. I on Grand Bahama, and I stopped at the airport. I see Bishop Delton Ellis. Me and him talk for a little while. I saw some other people, and just waiting on the flight to be able to come back. I saw all these particular things, and I want to be very clear with you. There has been a constant question to me. Howard, why you on nobody ticket this time? Howard, I expect to see you on somebody ticket. Me on somebody ticket? No, boy. I don't know what he took it. There is an appetite to see conviction represented in these particular spaces. There is an appetite to be able to see growth and development. There is an appetite for change. There is an appetite. But there may not necessarily be a meal that can provide you the sustenance that you envision. There may not be a choice for some people that could provide the level of sustenance that you envision. So they keep asking, well, why I ain't get more options over here, Howard? Or why I ain't get more options over here, Howard? Or why I ain't get more options over here? And we look at this and we determine this is what it is. This is what it is. I ain't gonna say to you, God is good. God is good. And I believe that we could do a great deal. And I believe that there is a purpose here for us to be able to make these decisions. And I want to say to you, outside of the noise in the marketplace, outside of the subtle innuendos that make you to be able to see one candidate beneath another, outside of these particular things that seeks to be able to lurk in your subconscious, I continue to say to you over the next 15 days, step in sobriety. Move with a level of consciousness and an understanding of the choice that you must make. Identify that. Don't reject the idea of democracy. Don't reject the idea of non-participation. Look at what exists and make a choice. Connect with the convictions that exist in you and choose growth and development in this country. Look at the candidates and identify who will provide you with a level of transparency, accessibility, and leadership that you're looking for in your constituency. Make a choice, ladies and gentlemen. I ain't gonna tell you nothing foolish. I'm gonna tell you who to choose. That on you. That on you. I'm not here to tell you who to choose and who not to choose. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That on you. I'm here to dissect, to chop down, and to be able to whatever walls of separation and segregation that's being set up, whether that's by the newspaper, whether that's by social media, whether that's by a political narrative. We're here to bring those proverbial Jericho walls down with clarity. Once we bring those walls down, now we have immediate access to be able to get to the choice that we must make. Is that choice a choice for the PLP? Is that choice a choice for the FNM? If it's a choice for the COI or it's a choice of independence, it's your choice. And the only thing I ask you to do is use your choice. Nothing worse than being able to have an airline ticket to travel somewhere and the thing sitting down and doing nothing. Pick up the airline ticket and choose to fly. Wherever you believe that has the wings to take you to a destination, I encourage you to make that choice. I'm going to be out here and tell you, well, I don't even think you should vote. Jesus, I don't even know why you're voting. Stop it. It's foolish. Let's be decent and continue to be able to move forward. I want to thank you guys so very kindly for being able to be in with us today and jam with us as we continue to be able to talk about these things. Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing and continue to push forward. Guys, like I said to you, please check me out on foundation242.com. That's foundation242.com. Or check me out on any and every one of the social media handles. Foundation242 on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Foundation242.com. Foundation242.com. And we can be able to get into these conversations and talk about these things. Any more text? If you want to be able to give me more information and kind of send some stuff to me so we can be able to be on one accord and understanding where we are, I ask you to do so. Hit me up right here. Where is it? Right over here. Oh, Lord, right here. 827-0111. That's it right there. 827-0111. That's it right there. You can be able to get into that. And hit me up. Let's be able to find out about these things. The number is always with me. So if you want to be able to hit me up with a text, I'd be more than happy to read that text for you and be able to get into those things. Let me see if I can get some. Okay, let me see. So it says, good afternoon, Howard. These some stuff that person sent from Friday, but there's something. Good afternoon, Howard. Mr. Cartwright has levied accusations against the PLP supporters as corrupt in Parliament, where he had his privilege with less facts on the table to be viewed as circumstantial evidence. He's part of the choir that sings about friends, families, and lovers. There is no positive spin or believable timing explanation for the brother-in-law contract. None. That was my entire point. I don't understand what this is about. What's the objective here? What is the drive? What is the motive? What is the reason? Why are you doing these things? What you expect to yield from these particular things? It is too much. It is too much for us, right? Guys, I want to thank you so very kindly for being able to be here with us today. You have an absolutely beautiful day. We're going to see you next time right here on The Foundation. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. You can hear me? All right, so you just play the intro what I sent you all today, and we come in with that. I think I had another drop for you that I sent just some this is just give me 3 breaks today, and you can put a generic breaks, whatever you all have set up. You could be able to do that. Give me generic breaks today, but I have to build on some breaks. Okay, I have to build up, and so I'm just asking for sponsorship so we can get those things. But just give me some generic breaks today. All right. Okay. Now I don't know if I could hear y'all. I was just talking to Neil. Neil said that he was going to ask someone to come over so I can get a straight link with y'all, but I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to hear any telephone calls that's coming back. Let me see.